Okay, welcome everybody to this classroom. This is Welcome to Horde Flight School. I myself, Aaron, will be your kind of teacher for the day. I have made a fleet, so please go and join my fleet. It's just called Welcome to Horde Flight School, and it's up under Aaron Kizzy. For the first part of this class, we will be doing a classroom only, I guess you could call it. We'll be following a slideshow on Horde Square, so I'm going to link that right now in the Mumble chat to everybody. So make sure that you join that link under beta.hordes-square.com, flight school, blah, 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 and follow along there. So the first part of our class will be over the slides, and then in about 45 minutes to an hour, we will all need to be docked up at the Beanstar in 7RM for the practical portion of this class. So just a little bit about the format of the class. Once you're in Horde Square, you will actually have the little question box beside the slideshow. You can type your questions there at any point during the stuff because these will not automatically pop up over the presentation. So you will be able to just do it at any time, that question, and I'll get to it when I can. And also, if there's anything I'm saying over mumble at the time that confuses you for any reason or doesn't really make sense, and you just want clarification on what I said, you can just kind of interrupt and say, hey, can I ask a question? And then I'll get to you that way as well. But if it's just a question wanting more details or a side thought, preferably type that into Horde Square. Alright? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, for right now you don't need to be in a ship or anything, just docked up or doing whatever you want until the practical portion of the classroom. Follow along in Horde Square, and of course we're all in Mumble right now. And feel free to throw those questions when you do get confused or want to know. Okay, welcome to Horde, what now? So over this lesson we're going to go over quite a few things. The general flow of this lesson is designed to provide you with a crash course introduction on how to quickly advance into being an active member of Horde and reaping the benefits of being part of our corporation. So we'll have a section on Welcome to Horde with a brief overview, some of the activities and resources available. We'll have a more detailed overview of Horde, where it's located, so on, and Horde Space Expanded. And then we'll talk about how you can take advantage of the benefits of this corporation. Shipping up to travel, this will kind of be the practical portions beginning, and then we'll have a flight time, which is our practical portion, and we'll have a hands-on tour and how to kind of fly around, being part of a fleet, stuff like that. And then we'll have a kind of a wrap-up debrief with a what comes next session to kind of give you some ideas of things you can do, because EVE is a very complex game with a lot of things to do, and it can be hard to kind of plan. It's almost like career planning in the real world. Kind of sucks, but more fun because you have spaceships to pew-pew with. So yeah, definitely if you can't do the practical portion of this classroom for any reason, you will still get a lot of benefit from just listening in, so don't worry about that. Welcome to Horde! Greetings, newbies. You have made a wise decision joining Pandemic Horde. Pandemic Horde is focused on providing equal opportunity to all players of EVE, new or old, with a focus on null security PvP. Our core is always to be open and friendly to the new players of EVE while providing opportunities to anyone wishing to be a part of a nullsec corporation. So just if you didn't already know this, nullsec just means security below 0. There's absolutely no real laws out here from any of the NPC factions. There's no police, no nothing. We welcome new and experienced players and allow them the freedom to do almost anything they desire. Please remember, though, the golden rule: do not fuck with blues or be a dick. You will get purged. Number one rule in EVE is don't trust anyone. And seriously, yeah, that's the number one rule in EVE if you don't want to get screwed over. So, what about resources that are provided to our members? So I'll go over a few here. We've got the NBI, or Nubian Initiative. Most of you have probably met one of these great guys already. They hand out free care packages, including skill books and ships to accelerate your fun in EVE, and this really does help boost getting into the game compared to just following CCP's own little, here, build this, do that, now you have nothing. Anyways, Horde members with the desire to help and keep courtmates are what makes the NBI so great. They provide free ships during PvP fleets quite often, and they're also bad at making memes. Globloons, what are these? This is your tax paying for your benefits. So Horde has a 10% tax rate. It's applied to ratting, bounties, stuff like that. 100% of that tax is collected that is collected is returned to players in the form of doubloons. Basically, all you have to do to earn doubloons is kill enemy ships, and in certain cases we have certain ships that when you lose them they also pay you back doubloons. So the idea with doubloons is they're just a way to help protect our people doing ratting activities and stuff in Horde and give a financial benefit to those helping protect you. So we'll definitely touch on that a little bit later. Infrastructure, we have citadels, engineering complexes, jump bridges, and all this stuff is managed and kept running by Horde for us to be able to use and benefit from. Later in this class we will cover many more resources available to the members. Again, feel free to throw those questions in the chat bar inside the Horde Square lecture if you have any, or if you need to just speak up. Welcome to Horde, how will you fly? So one of the brilliant things about Horde is the freedom you enjoy. It's really up to you what you wish to do, but here are some typical activities. So we've got strategic operations, or strat ops, going out on fleets to assist our corporation's goals. That's what a strat op is. So the picture on the right is myself that I took that when I'm flying on a strat op and we blew up an enemy structure. Pretty cool. I love blowing up structures, they're so cool. So player-run fleets that are for fun, we have those going out quite regularly. I myself sometimes take people out on fleets, and there are a lot of skilled players who take people out on fleets to go have some fun. Making ISK, those dollar bills, by ratting or by mining. Solo play, such as exploration, solo PvP, so on. You definitely are welcome to participate in solo play as much as you want in Horde. You can become a fleet commander and command fleets. You can do industry, you can do salvaging, and become a space janitor if you want. There are a lot of options. So Eve, as I was saying before, touched on, is a very difficult game to learn. So here we have a nice beautiful graph showing the learning curve of Eve compared to any other MMO. Please let that sink in a bit. Not trying to scare you off, of course.
Nice.
I love the people on nooses.
Yeah, they just hung themselves. Okay, an overview of Horde. Location. Horde makes its home in what is commonly considered the north of New Eden, taking up systems in Pureblind, Fade, and Cloud Ring. Our main systems, we've got 7RM-N0. This is the main staging for Horde. It's the home to our keep star, called the Bean Star, and it's the busiest economic hub, so it has the best market for buying and selling. GME-PQ, or as people say, tech for a dash. The staging area for our ratting and mining activities in Fade. 8W Tech OSE, the French division located in Cloud Ring, but actually it might be the Russians, not the French. Might have been my mistake there. So here we've got a nice little animated GIF kind of browsing around showing our space. So the in-game Eve map. To the left is a view of Horde space highlighting 7RM and GME. So the green arcs that you see between or across the map are actually the jump bridges. So they show you on the in-game map where the jump bridges from what systems they go between, so you can plan more efficient travel using jump bridges. More on this later. The red dashed lines is showing you the current route to travel from your current location to the selected solar system. So right now I'm in 7RM, I click on GME right there, and the red dashed line appears showing me all the solar systems that I have to jump through. Of course, I can see along that route that there are some green lines for jump bridges that I could take to shorten my route. All three main regions of Horde space are connected, Pureblind, Fade, and Cloud Ring, but to go from Pureblind to Cloud Ring is a little tricky, as it's not completely through Horde space. So how is Horde structured? Due to the open nature of Horde, the top levels are fairly closed off compared to some corporations. So it's, like secretive to make sure people don't spy on us too badly, because everyone spies in Horde because we allow anyone in. Most of what we do is a do this, we'll tell you what we can later. Gobbins is our leader. We have directors, they're the main backbone of the corporation and kind of keep things running, do a lot of the tasks to make sure that everything's happy and people can have a lot of fun pew-pewing or riding or doing whatever they want to do in Horde. We have some important people that help directors and help high up, and I have no idea who they are, and you probably never will either. We have fleet commanders who are official or unofficial that take people out on fleets. I'm unofficially a fleet commander, and there are people who are officially a fleet commander. We have the NBI, they're usually a first line of contact and help, so feel free to hit them up with questions whenever you want. That's what they're there for. Also, our members, we have lots of cool and helpful Horde bros to make friends with and to give you advice and ask questions. So when I say how is Horde divided up, I kind of mean like what are some of the different areas that players actively do in the game. You know, what are they doing? So we have some of the industry and logistic members that are loosely organized, but a lot of them do choose to run lone wolf when it comes to doing industry or shipping services. Many of the miners, though, are well organized and grouped together in GME. We do have miners in 7RM as well, but a lot of them do go down to the GME area of Horde space. We also have a higher skill point group called Horde Vanguard, so they're kind of like the tryhards. They get to play with fancier ships than us because they have more skill, as well as to get into Horde Vanguard, you do have to kind of be vouched in by somebody already in Horde Vanguard and pass a few tests, and they do a little bit of extra security screening on you. We do have a capital group for players wishing to fly some of the big shiny capital ships of Eve. There's a forum post stating the minimum requirements to get in, and then there's a lot of security screening to get into the capital group. More skilled PvP players hang out in the 7RM area, and most of fleets fly out of 7RM. So if that's kind of your big thing and you're doing a lot of PvP, you'll probably find yourself in 7RM, or if you want to learn PvP better. But doesn't mean you have to be in 7RM. As a new player, though, you are more likely to hang out in GME, as most people go there to make ISK or money. This 7RM pocket. Some people choose to mine and rat in the 7RM pocket, especially in GA tech. But most people are there to wait for PvP as part of standing fleet. The Keepstar or the Beanstar is the largest player-made structure in space, and it is the main hum of activity with the largest market in Horde space. It's quite easy to buy things off the market. Most things are available to buy, albeit some of them ridiculously expensive. Most PvP fleets form up in 7RM, so make sure you can get here quickly. We will talk on the different methods using your medical clone, jump bridges, stuff like that later on to help teach you how to get up to 7RM quickly if you are located elsewhere in space. Also, there are many facilities that help you with activities like industry and mining. So someone asked out of curiosity, does our corp have a Titan? Yes, we do have a Titan, but our Titan is basically just a giant Stargate and does not engage in battles. So you will get to see it sometimes when you're using it to jump through like a Stargate. It's called a Titan Bridge. The GME pocket. Most of our ratting and mining activity takes place in the GME pocket as it is safer and easier to rat in. A fairly sizable market in GME allows you to purchase most of your needs, but it is not as good as 7RM, and quite often you will be buying stuff through the contract system instead of directly through the market. We'll cover on that later. The entrance to GME has a defense network of warp disruption bubbles which can be avoided when you use the jump bridge to get there. There are many facilities to help you with activities like industry and mining. We will not go over our cloud ring space in this one. Here's just some pictures of some really big spaceships in Eve, so you can actually see the top left, that is one of our Titans in Horde. I took that picture. The picture in the top right I didn't take, but those are a bunch of giant ships that look pretty fucking cool, flying as a fleet together. And in the bottom right, there is an NPC dreadnought that we were taking down as a team effort. You can see our little tiny ships next to it flying around trying to tackle the guy. So getting the full EVE experience, as I like to call it. So the Horde advantage. So now that you're part of a large support network, use it to your advantage, guys. We have Mumble. This is a great place for standing fleets. The NBI chat. When you want to get your questions answered, when you want to learn things, you will learn in those areas. Discord, critical for going on fleets. We'll cover all these later, of course, and you really want to make sure you have Discord set up. The forums have a lot of great things on them. They have skill plans. They have our OP board, which is timers that get set up in advance, so you know when things are coming up and you can pre-plan to go on those fleets. We have a buyback and shipping services. All that information is on the forums. I just want to say the buyback and shipping services, we'll cover that later, but it's something that I think is very valuable to learn quickly while you're in Horde. We have the Skybeams program. It's meant to help mentor people who want to learn to FC, so there's some people who can be contacted and they have some info about that. We also have the in-game chat channels, so these are the chat channels within EVE, such as NBI, the Newbeans channel, we have Horde Intel channel, There's the cloning services, so using the citadels to move around in your clones quite easily. It's a great thing. We have the jump bridge network to help you fly around faster. We have corporation fittings, which allow you to easily find fittings for ships. And of course, we have classes such as the one you guys are in right now. And I'm a little biased here, but nullsec space is just better. So, Mumble, communications within the Horde. So Mumble is very important as part of being what do you call that, community kind of game in Horde and being a part of everybody. To be in fleets, you pretty much have to be able to listen in Mumble. You don't always have to be able to use your mic, but you do have to be able to listen. And one thing that's stupidly important is making sure you all know how to use your whisper key properly and that it's fully set up. So here is the whisper key set up. There's a little GIF on the left side for those of you who hadn't done it before. Do note that with Mumble, the push to talk should not be the key that you're used to pushing for push to talk, because this actually will shout to multiple people, everybody who's kind of in the same chat channel that you're in. There's multiple sub-channels inside of a chat channel. And so when you set up this whisper/shout key with data set to current, you want to make sure that one is your default push to talk key. So whisper key is of the utmost importance during fleets. And the biggest thing is, if you're joining a fleet and you're trying to ask questions, this or that, get some help, and the fleet commander is trying to organize things in a different sub-channel of that fleet, and you're shouting, you're going to be talking over him and the strategy they're trying to do, and it really makes it hard. As well as, there's other people in other sub-channels probably trying to organize themselves. So again, very, very important. Joining standing fleets on Mumble is extremely valuable intel and a good place to learn more. Standing fleet on Mumble can be a little annoying at times to listen to people just talk and talk and talk forever, but it's the safest way to hear about intel about enemy ships that are coming into your area, as well as a lot of times you will learn stuff and you can ask questions and interrupt and say, hey guys, may I ask a question right now? Also, in Mumble, you can look for the bracket NBI bracket tags after a person's name, and that will let you know that they are part of the Newbeans initiative. So if you are looking for somebody who you really want to ask some questions to, just go in Mumble, look for those NBI tags, and most of those guys will be free and available to help you, or they'll try and find somebody who can help you. So here's a question about whisper key. If you don't push whisper key but don't use push to talk, do you shout instead? So the main thing is you have to make sure that you are not set to voice activated. You have to be set to push to talk mode. Otherwise, voice activated is really bad. Just don't use it. So yeah, the default push to talk setting in Mumble is going to be your shout. So that will be shouting. Checking out the forums. Even if you aren't active on them, you can reap a lot of benefit from the forums. So pandemic-legion.pl. We have the OP timers shown in that picture there. So there's a bunch of different operations or OPs, and you can click on them to get more details. They tell you on how many hours they're starting, etc. Do note that not the majority of the fleets and activities we have will not be on there, because a lot of them are just player-run things, such as this one where they just ping on Discord. We have programs such as the Skybeams 2.0 and Padawans for mentoring. It's not as good as Reddit Salt, but sometimes forums are pretty gold. Information for important programs such as buyback and shipping services. So if you guys were to be on the forums right now or at any point, from the main forums, you can go under Horde Industrial and Marketplace. Then you can go under Industry Buyback Freight Mega Thread, which is sticky right near the top. And this will show you two really important services that you can use in Horde. One is a buyback service and one is a courier service. So the point of a buyback service is a way for you to easily sell all the items you collect during your activities to make some money off of them. And they give you a fairly reasonable price. Of course, they still get to make a profit margin off of you, but a lot of times their profit margins are less than 5%. So they're giving you quite a good price, and it's a very convenient and easy way to offload your items and convert them into ISK. Each buyback will have a link to the buybacks forum post where they describe in details their requirements and rules. And the very important thing that comes after that is hauling and delivery services. So if you want stuff in Horde space and it's not here or it's really overpriced, Fear not, you do not need to fly across space searching for this stuff. You just need to go and put a character in what's known as one of the major trade hubs of Eve, Jita. So you go into the system called Jita, and there's a Kaldari Navy assembly plant at Moon 4, Planet 4, and everything you want to buy except for maybe one or two rare items you can find there, and prices are fairly good. That's kind of the baseline price that everybody uses to measure how much things are worth in Eve is Jita. So you buy a bunch of stuff in Jita and you think, okay, now I gotta get this stuff to Horde Space. So you go to the forums, look for your favorite hauling delivery service, you look at their instructions, and they just charge you a fee. And they say, okay, create this kind of contract. They have instructions in their forum post. So all you had to do was go on that characters in Jita, buy a few things from the market, and then create a contract and pay these guys, and within a day, usually less than a day, your stuff will appear in that station you're getting it delivered to. Woohoo! So yeah, courier services are amazing. Would have liked to have known about those and buyback services a lot earlier when I joined Horde. Okay, also skill plans. We have a section for skill plans. Please make sure you use either your alpha skill plan that's been on the forums or the 14-day skill plan for Omegas before training anything else. If you try and train into something before you finish those first initial things, you're just going to find that you can't properly fit your ships, and it's really not worth it. So after the 14-day skill plan, if you want to train in something else, you can start to deviate, but I would say stick to the 40-day skill plan as much as possible, because that makes sure you can come out on our fleets with us in a lot of the different ships we fly, and we do have a 90-day skill plan as well to get you into even more of what Horde flies regularly. So here are some other services we offer in Horde, some other useful things. We're going to talk about the jump bridges, the jump clones, fittings, in-game chat channels. So you can see a picture on the left there, links the Newbeans, shows the Newbean channel, the plus 10 Horde Intel. Horde Intel is a great channel. We'll cover that during the practical portion of the classroom. Newbeans, just a place to ask questions. You know, whether you're a Newbean or not, you can definitely be in there asking away. We've got plus 10, which is just a kind of general everybody chat channel. There's cloning services, so this is very, very important. If you guys are in a Citadel, this is the best way to use the clone services because you can bypass the timers that happen when you use jump clones. So if you are currently in a Citadel and jump to a clone in that same Citadel, you will not incur any penalty or timer, and you can even jump when you have a penalty timer for your next jump with jump clones. So very, very important. It's the best way if you have stuff on your clone that you don't want to lose, so the plugins, and then you can just jump into an empty clone in that Citadel. Also, you can use your jump clones to jump great distances, so anywhere you have a jump clone installed, you can actually go into any facility with a jump clone bay, or sorry, a clone bay, and you can jump into any of your jump clones anywhere in Eve. We also have the jump bridge network to travel faster. So the jump bridge network, we've got a few main ones. We've got between FTech-N and C4C. That's your main way to get between GME and 7RM. And then from 7RM, we have one that goes to RQH, which bypasses the majority of null security space on your way to low security space. So it spits you out in the last null security system before entering low security space. Also, we have another one in GAA Tech, which will also allow you to jump to one system away from low security space. And in 8QMO, we have one that goes out to K4Y, where we have an ice belt, but it is very dangerous space, and you're likely to die there if you don't know what you're doing. One thing I forgot to mention about the clone bays and jump clones, if you want to get to 7RM really quickly for a fleet farm up or for whatever, there's two ways to do that. Either if you want to incur the penalty timing, you can use a jump clone to jump into 7RM. I don't recommend this, but you can do it if you want. The option that I choose, and most players choose, is you install your medical clone in the Beanstar, and then whenever you want to get to 7RM, you get into an empty pod, and you either ask somebody to blow up your pod, or you self-destruct your pod, and you will respawn in 7RM. So that's always less than 3 minutes to get to 7RM compared to, and you don't have to create that timer for your jump clone, and you still have your jump clone available to you to go anywhere else. And we have the corporation fittings. That's kind of the bottom left image there, and the furthest down one. We have a whole bunch of fittings that the corporation has provided for you that you can browse through at your leisure whenever you want to get some ideas on how to fit a ship to fly, as well as that's all of our doctrine fittings for when we go out on fleets and stuff, so you know that you're flying the correct ship. Jump bridges and fatigue. So using jump bridges, or if you're using a Titan bridge during a fleet, creates jump fatigue, which has two parts to it. Jump fatigue timer is kind of a blue or teal color, and this one does not prevent you from jumping, but it determines the punishment that you will incur for jumping. The jump activation timer in orange, or your punishment, is what prevents you from jumping, and it's determined by how high your jump fatigue timer is. So if you look at the graphic on the left there, when you see I hover over that jump fatigue timer, in the bottom right of that there is another little timer that it shows, and that tells you how long your orange timer will end up being on your next jump. Now, I don't think there's anything that shows you how large your teal or blue timer will become each time, but it does get exponentially larger unless you are using an industrial ship, which we will cover later on how to reduce jump fatigue using industrial ships. So this was a giant battle that happened a couple months back, I think. This was the MTech O Keepstar destruction. Okay guys, we're going to be getting into the practical portion of the classroom, so if everybody can make sure that they are in the Beanstar docked up and jump into your game. You do not need to watch the slides for this practical portion. I will walk you through everything in game. We will be covering, traveling around in null security space, the different systems that we have, kind of going on a little bit of a tour, and we'll also be covering ships to travel with, how to buy ships, how to look up the fittings, stuff like that. Okay, so traveling in null security space can be quite dangerous because of something called warp disruption bubbles. So while you're warping around, something called a warp disruption bubble can actually stop your ship from warp. So if you're inside of the bubble, your ship cannot warp to get away from enemies or just warp in general. If you're warping through space and the bubble is set up correctly, it will actually stop you in mid-warp. Before you reach your destination, or it will actually pull you past your destination. So these are quite often used to catch people flying around to kill them, and it can make it quite dangerous. So there's a few things we can do, and we will cover this in the practical portion, such as using tacticals or bookmarks to avoid bubbles. So what do you want to travel with? What kind of ships? Well, you have quite a few options. So there are travel scepters, or interceptors. They are a Tech 2 frigate. I'm going to link a claw right now. And if you click on unfit in fleet chat there, they'll bring up the information about a claw. The interesting thing about these is under roll bonus, they say that they are immune to interdiction sphere launchers, warp disruption field generators, mobile, small, medium, and large warp disruptors. So basically this means that these annoying bubbles no longer threaten you while you're traveling. You warp right through those bubbles, and you can warp while you're inside of them, making very hard to catch. And the other thing that makes interceptors so great for traveling is if you look under their attributes tab, they have a very, very fast align time due to their inertial modifier, as well as their fairly small mass, which allows them to be able to fit to enter warp instantly, and they have a high base warp speed. So they're fast ships. They can instantly warp, or what we consider instant warp in the game, and they are immune to bubbles, so that's great. I highly suggest training into travel interceptors when you get a chance. They're so much fun to fly. Also, you have industry ships. So industry ships are, industry ships are great for hauling larger quantities of stuff around, and also reducing your jump fatigue on the jump bridges. And of course, you can fly around in combat ships if you wish. So you have some teeth to blow up people, and there are a few other ships that you can fly just depending on what you would like to be doing, and kind of the choice comes up to you at that point whether you're willing to lose it or not. For my characters that do not fly in interceptors, I just have a little frigate that's been fit for extremely fast travel that I use to get around. So how do we purchase items or ships? Well, the first thing I want you guys to do is I want you to look at the corporation fittings. So if you open up your fitting window, that's where you see your ship that you're currently in. And then I want you to make sure that on the left side, the fitting kind of area is expanded. So you should see hulls and fits, hardware as kind of two big tabs at the top there. You want to be on hulls and fits. You want to make sure that there's a little check mark beside that filter for corporation fittings, which is directly underneath the search bar. If you don't see this, just click on the wrench icon and it'll expand that fitting window on the side. So these are all of our corporation fittings. I'd like everybody to, and they can include your personal ones, I'd like everybody to click on the cruiser, and I would like you to expand cruiser, and then I'd like you to expand Caldari, and then I'd like you to expand Caracal, and I'd like everybody to click and drag on the Horde MWD Caracal T1 and drag it into the fleet chat window and put that into chat. Perfect, so it looks like everyone's been able to find it, so click on that now, just regular click, and it will simulate that fitting for you in the fitting window. And so if you look in your fitting window at the top, kind of top left corner there, so not in that fitting pane to the left, but where there's a little info button and it shows the title, Horde MWD Caracal T1, there's an icon of a gun below it, and this allows you to select which modules are online or offline or active, so you can see how the ship will use capacitor, how much warp speed, align time, all these other things about it. But the other thing that you can do is you can click on that book, and that will actually show you if you have the required skills to use every single module. So if they're highlighted in blue, that means that you have the required skills to be able to use that module fitted to that ship. Also, when you guys link the Horde MW Caracal T1 fit, just to the right of that, where you selected it, there's a little red X or blue check mark telling you if you can use everything in that fitting. So just type an X in fleet chat if you have a red X beside the Caracal instead of the blue check mark. Okay, so a lot of you can't fly it yet because you're quite new and you don't have the skills. Actually, I think all of you. So what you can do, the first thing you want to do is say, can I fly the ship itself? So for the Caracal, if you have it open in your simulation window and you click that little info button near the top left, near the name of the fitting, so click that info button and it'll bring up this sheet for a Caracal. If you didn't get that, you can just click on it in Fleet Chat here, right click, show it, or just click on it. And then you go to the Requirements tab. So the Requirements tab will show you all the skills required to be able to sit and fly a Caracal hull. So there you can see which skills you need to train up if you don't have them. And then all the other skills, as I said, you see when you click on that book icon in the simulated ship fitting, you can see whether or not you have that skill. So let's say that for some reason you can't use the so if you look at your fitting, look at your mid slots, and you'll see kind of a gold or orange colored shield called an Adaptive Invulnerability Field 2. So you probably can't fit that. So show info on that item, go to the tab called Variations, and under the Variations tab, if you go to the Tech 1 version of it, it will say Adaptive Invulnerability Field. You can show info on that, and you can look at the requirements for that, and you can probably fit that one. So potentially, you could take the one module off and fit a different variation of it because of your skill requirements. So that's kind of how, when you're looking at a fitting and you can't use it, you can swap out parts. The thing to keep in mind, though, is that fittings are designed specifically for a certain reason, and as soon as you start using variations of the fittings, you might change how effective that is. So maybe when you change a variation, you're no longer able to be cap stable, or maybe you deal less damage, or maybe you have less health and you get killed easier. So just keep that in mind, that as you change out for variations, you're usually making your ship weaker than it was designed, and it might not function as intended. So if you just want to buy this individual item, from the Show Info box here on the bottom, there's a button that says View Market Details. The other option, of course, is to right click on that item anywhere and View Market Details. So if everyone please click on the View Market Details, it'll bring up the market window, and you'll see that there are some available to buy in this station, so choose it. So let's talk a little bit about how to quickly fit ships from the market. So I would like everybody to, you can collapse the cruiser section, and I'd like you to expand the industrial section of fittings. And I would like you to expand the race of your character. If you're an Omega, just whatever race you think you've trained at least one skill into industrial ships. So for myself, I'm going to expand the Galente. Everyone please expand yours. And I'd like you to expand one of the ships that is listed under your race, and please link it in fleet chat.
You said industrial, right?
Yes. And then just click on that fitting to simulate it. Make sure that it does have a blue check mark beside it. If it doesn't, and that's the only race that you can fly, well, select it anyways. So a couple of people still haven't linked their industrial ship, just making sure everyone knows how to find it. Okay, so if you have a red X beside it, just check and make sure that you can actually fly the ship hull itself, if you guys remember how to do that. And the fittings themselves aren't as important if you can't fit some of those fittings. Okay, so now let's say we want to buy this ship to be able to fly it. So everybody right click on that ship fitting in your fitting section on the left there, and you have a few options that come up. You have buy all, view fitting, simulate fitting, fit to active ship, multi-fit. So let's start with buy all. This will not cause you to buy anything right now, so you can safely click on buy all, and the buy all window will pop up and it'll start populating with each item required for that fitting. So all of the items should be available to purchase. If there aren't any items available to purchase in the station, they will kind of be red hashed, big highlighted thing over them, so you know you can't buy them. You can individually modify the quantity of each individual item you want to buy, and in the top right you can also buy multiple orders of the entire buy all order. So everything should be there. If there's any specific modules that you don't have the skills to fit, you can take them off of this buy all list, etc., etc., or if you just find it's too expensive. So I'm looking at the fit for this epithal right now, and the medium low friction nozzle joints are 4.2 million, and I might say screw that, so I can just click the X and remove them. So everyone should see that. So you can close the buy all window for now. So let's assume that we had bought all of that and you wanted to fit it. You can either get into the ship, right click the fitting back on the fitting pane and say fit to active ship, or if you haven't gotten into the ship yet, you can use what's called multi-fit. We'll cover that later. The other option for ships is contracts. So everybody, I want you to go to your neocon menu on the left, and if you don't already have contracts put on your sidebar, make sure you do that. So go to the top above your portrait, the 3 lines for the E, go down to business, go to contracts, and drag that onto your neocon bar on the left. You do want contracts up, you'll be using them quite often. So please open the contract window now, and I would like you to go to the tab that says available contracts. Make sure you have it expanded for show more options. You want to set it to buy and sell. You type into the search bar, type Caracal. Okay. I actually spelled Caracal right that time, woohoo. I usually spell it wrong during these classes. Anyways, so type in Caracal in the search bar. Set your location to either current station if you want to be able to buy it in the station you're in and fly away. Usually you'd use current system though, just because you might be docked on the wrong station. Or you can do current constellation region or all regions. Quite often I'll use the all regions filter just to see where it's available. Unless I need to fly it right now, then I'll just do current station or system. So you can set it to current station right now. Contract type should be want to sell. That means people are selling these items so you can buy them. Item category all. There is a price filter in millions. We don't need to worry about that quite yet. Availability, you want to change that to my corporation. And then hit the search. So once it searches, everybody should see the first result should be a 30 million price contract. It'll just say multiple items, and it's issued by Zoe Minor. If you double click on that, it will bring up another window that shows you all the items you're going to get in that contract. Also, they have info by issuer on the right side. So this one says Caracal fitted for Alpha Clone. I have no idea what's going on here. Whatever. The one that you really want to be using when you're going out on fleets is you want to make sure that it is the doctrine one. So people will say like T1 MWD Horde fit. So that's 37 million. There's also some that just say T1 Caracal. So if I double click on the T1 Caracal one, I can actually compare it against the fitting that's saved in Corporation Fittings to make sure they actually did it correctly and have the right items. It's a little annoying that sometimes you just have to trust people put the right items or take the few minutes, but once you buy a ship off of a contract, it's usually pre-fitted and ready to fly immediately, other than if you want to insure it. So that's another way to buy your ships, is through the contract system, as well as doing the buy all. In 7RM, you can usually buy everything doing the buy all. In GME, you quite often have to use contracts instead of buy all. Any questions? Okay, so we are going to be flying around in industrial ships for the practical portion. Now, it's not so practical for flying around the pocket. It's very practical, though, for hauling stuff around or taking the jump bridges. So if you just want to travel between 7RM and GME, and you're taking that jump bridge, an industrial ship will be your best friend. So I'd like everybody to go back to the industrial ship that they linked earlier, the fitting, and I'd like you to right-click and buy all this time. You can exclude any items that are too expensive for you on the fitting, and you can exclude anything that you don't have the skills to fit, but please buy all, and if you need a little bit of IST to help you buy that, just let me know. So once you've bought your ship, I would like you to fit it by right-clicking that fitting and going multi-fit. So once you hit multi-fit, if you have all the items required, it will allow you to click on the button on the bottom that says Fit to Ships. So just to recap again, open up your fitting window, ship fitting window, and then on the left tab, the fitting tab, you can either type into the search bar Epithol, or you can scroll down and expand the industrial tab, and then find your ship there. So please just put a +1 in fleet chat once you are in your newly fitted industrial ship. And again, please let me know if you guys are having any difficulties with this, buying all the items for your ship and fitting it.
Is it cool if we just buy the base ship?
You can if you want. You'll be at a bit of a disadvantage, but it does do its job in terms of the jump bridge.
Alright.
So I just linked one of my ships that I fly, a bestower. If anyone wants to open up that, or right-click on that fitting I linked, or sorry, open it up. And then on the bottom there, you can go simulate. And you can just take a look and see, and I'll explain a couple things. So in the low slots, I've got 2 warp core stabilizers. What these do is they help prevent you from getting point disrupted or scrammed by an enemy ship. These do not prevent warp bubbles from stopping you from warping, but if an enemy ship activates a module on you to scram you, I can get out with up to 2 points on me. So a warp disrupt is 1 point each, so I can survive 2 of those being on me, and a warp scrambler is 2 points, so I can survive just 1 of those being on me. In addition, I have a nanofiber internal structure and inertial stabilizers on it. All of those modules allow my ship to align faster, so I can enter warp a lot sooner. So under my right side of the fitting window, if that's expanded, I open up the navigation area, expand that, and I have an align time of 7.34 seconds with my skills included and the fitting modules. On the mid slots there, I just have 2 medium shield extenders to give myself a little bit more health so I can survive while I'm taking that 7.5 seconds to enter warp, with my warp core stabilizers keeping me from being pointed. I also have a prop mod, or a 10MN monopropellant enduring afterburner, just to help me get out of bubbles faster if I land in a bubble. And on my rig slots near the left there, I have a low friction nozzle joint, which allows me to line faster, but I've also got 2 medium cargo hold optimizers, which increase my cargo capacity for hauling. And then in the high slots, I just put a couple of smart bombs. They're not really useful, but they're just there to potentially shoot at drones that are flying around my ship if I'm getting attacked by drones. Probably won't do anything useful. In my cargo hold, I like to keep some expanded cargo holds, which I can swap out low slots when I need to haul higher volumes. I can change the low slot modules to increase my cargo capacity at the risk of having slower align times and less protection from a warp disruption. Okay, it looks like, I think, nope, we're still missing one person, I think, but that's alright. There we go. So everybody, we are going to, if you want, you can insure your ship, it's totally up to you, and we are going to undock. Make sure you're not in a valuable clone that you don't want to lose. Make sure you jump out of your clone and undock. So right now we're in a fleet, and so we're going to be practicing a bit of fleet flying around, if you want to call it that, or how to be, fly around in a fleet. So I'm your fleet commander for this fleet. I'm so confused. Where? Ah, there we go. Okay, so I'm your fleet commander for this fleet, and I'll be giving you some basic orders that you'll encounter while participating in fleets in Horde. So the first one will be align. They may broadcast a target, or they might not. What this means is that they want you to start aligning towards an object. Usually you can hold down the hotkey for align, which is A, and click on the object in space, or click on that object in your overview. You can select the object in your overview, and then under the selected item window, use the approach or align key button, or you can right click the object in your overview or in space, and there'll be an align to. So I want to just briefly cover the fleet window. So everybody bring up your fleet window that you used to join this fleet and go to the middle tab called History. Okay, thanks. Oh, one thing I want to mention about that multi-fit versus fit to active ship. So if you want to use the multi-fit feature to fit your ship, you have to have 100% of the items for it to work. If you only have some of the items, but you still want to fit everything you own, you can manually enter the ship and then use the fit to active ship, and it will tell you which items were not fitted, but fit the rest of the items. So that's a cool little advantage. Okay, so everyone should be on the History tab in their fleet window. I want you to set your filter to Broadcast History. I want you to click on the top left, the 3 little lines, and go Broadcast Settings. So here's your broadcast settings. You can choose which ones you want to see and which ones you don't want to see. And on the right side, you can even color code them, which is quite useful. I color code my broadcast target. I color code my broadcast align to, broadcast needs shields, and a few others. So right now I'm going to broadcast an align to, if I can find it on my overview. So under that History tab, you should see that it just popped up that I have broadcasted align to Stargate. You can right click that and there will be an option to align to it. So now we're traveling in null security space. So I'm going to tell you, sorry, I'll finish the fleet stuff first, never mind. Okay, so, I can do that. I can tell you to align, I can tell you to warp yourself, or I can tell you to take a warp. One of the really important things when you're on a fleet is when you are warping to gates, you want to wait for the fleet commander to tell you to jump the gate before you actually jump, because there are times where if you jump that gate before he tells you, you will die. So it's very, very important that you listen to him. They will say things such as, jump, don't jump, gate is red, gate is green. So, that's very important. Also, they will broadcast targets in the window. Please don't lock this guy up. But I will broadcast a target of Jack. So Jack's now broadcasted as a target, and they'll use that to help you target enemy ships in battles to fight. And I think that's about the main basics. Just had a question to answer there. Okay, so that's kind of the main basics there. You want to just follow the fleet commander's instructions as best as you can. And yeah, so everybody should align themselves towards that Stargate I broadcasted. So align to the GA Tech gate. Align, align, align. And so we are in very slow moving ships. If I was to just warp everybody, we would all leave warp at slightly different times, and we'd all land at our destination at slightly different times because of our long align times. So to keep the fleet together and to keep us a bit safer, it's better to have everybody align first, so everybody warps at the same time, nobody gets left behind easily, and everybody lands at the same time, so they can't pick us off as we're slowly landing. So right now, I'm going to look at the Horde Intel channel, and I'm going to go and say, hey, is there anybody where we're going who could potentially kill us? Because this is null security space, and I don't have somebody scouting ahead for me. So I look and I say, no, I don't think there's anybody in Horde Intel that's been reported who's a threat to us. You can also check local. The members in local, I see that there's one person who's orange, and everybody else is friendly in local here. So now I am going to, as your fleet commander, I'm going to warp the fleet. So take this warp.
Warp drive active.
So what I'm doing is I'm not warping us directly to the gate, because anything can happen from now until I get to that gate, or there could be bubbles there that I don't know about. So this is really great when we have citadel type structures set up near the gate. We can warp to these and we're immediately tethered, we're in a safe space. The only way that we'd be in trouble is if somebody had set up a warp bubble online with the keep star in this station because they know that we like to go here. The other option is we have bookmarks in space or tacticals. So if everybody right clicks in space, you'll see about halfway down it says corporation locations. And one of those will say tacticals. So if you go to your tacticals, you can actually see that there's a tactical for the GA Tech gate that's either 1,200 kilometers off or 488 kilometers off. The closer ones will allow you to warp down to that gate faster, but they place you in a little bit more danger than the far off ones. So I would like everybody, I'm going to broadcast it as a travel to. Please align yourself to that tactical. You can't, never mind, you can't right click it and align to. Anyways, or sorry, the gate, align yourself to the gate. So align to the gate. So yes, we could have used one of the tacticals nearby to get eyes on the gate without taking the threat of landing directly on the gate, but the Citadel is much safer. So everyone should be aligning, aligning, aligning. And then because we're all in very slow moving ships, I'm going to wait a bit longer than usual before warping the fleet. So gate is green, everybody can jump on land. That means that you can select the gate and press the jump key. You can do that in mid-warp or once you've landed. So everybody jump GA Tech, jump, 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 and hold cloak on the other side. So the fleet commander will usually tell you when to align on the other side, or sometimes they'll tell you just to align after jumping. Otherwise, you hold your cloak to make sure that nobody gets killed if there's some stuff that's unexpected on the other side. So everybody align yourself to the Astra House, the Perch 7RM gate Astra House. So I'm going to do a early fleet warp before we finish aligning, and we'll see how everybody flies off at different times. So there you can see we all entered warp at slightly different times. And we're now landing at different times. So this is not ideal, especially when it's PvP related with the fleet, because people can get picked off a lot easier and killed easier. And they won't have the backup of the entire fleet with them anymore. Okay guys, so welcome to GA Tech. This is a dead-end pocket. If you look on your overview, you only see one Stargate. So this is a great place to come and rat and do your mining, because there's only one way in this system other than wormholes, which sometimes randomly spawn. And the nice thing about this is that they have to go through 7RM. They have to come join through 7RM where all of our PvP players are. So if they come through 7RM, good chances are they'll be killed, or you'll hear about them if you're in the 7RM standing fleet. So let's say you wanted to come to GA Tech and you wanted to do some mining or some ratting. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to join the fleet called 7RM Standing. Please don't do that during this class, but you'd want to do that. And then if you can brave the mumble comms, you should also go into the Standing Fleet 7RM main lobby. And being in there will allow you to hear when enemy ships are flying around the system and give you more intel, as well as allow you to ask for questions and ask for help. So when you're in the Standing Fleet, there's a few kind of standard things you can do to get benefits from that fleet for protection. So the first thing you can do is you can type W's in chat. And then if you, on the top left part of your screen where it shows the current solar system you're in, you can click and drag that into the chat. And now I just linked www.gatech. And what this would tell me is this would tell the PvP players in the 7RM Standing Fleet that I'm in GA attack and I'm being attacked by an enemy player and need help. And so they would come to help me. Now, keep in mind if it's 1 or 2 players, fine. If it's 10 players, don't just do that because they will come in and die. You'd want to say, I've got 10 guys on me, www.ga. So you just want to let them know. And then if you're in Mumble, in Standing Fleet, you can say, whoa guys, I'm under attack, come help me, W's up. So that's kind of the basic there. If you're doing your mining and stuff, you can type R's instead. This means I need help with killing rats. Will somebody please come and kill these rats so I can go back to mining peacefully? Also, there are a few others, but those are the main things to help keep you safe that you need to worry about. Okay, I would like everybody to practice going to a bookmark on this gate. So I'd like everybody to warp themselves to one of the 2 tactical bookmarks for the 7RM gate. Just warp yourself to one of those 2 bookmarks. Actually, there's 3, but preferably not the one that's 2,000 away.
Active.
So again, we want to go back to 7RM. So what we want to do is we want to check Horde Intel. I see the most recent thing, 7RM on FTech and Gator Cinnable fleet. So in 7RM there's a Cinnable fleet right now, and it sounds like they are on this FTech Endgate, so it's quite dangerous for us to go into 7RM. But we'll do it anyways, and hope that they're not going to be on the GA Tech Gate. So everybody managed to warp themselves to a ping, except we got one person, Jack. So warp yourself to one of the tacticals for this gate.
Where's the bookmark?
Right-click anywhere in space, and under corporate locations, tacticals. Once
Okay,
you're
got it.
once you're on grid like this, you can actually probably see the bookmarks in space, and you can always hold down your S key, which is the default warp key, and click on it in space, or you can right-click on that bookmark in space. And then, okay, everybody align to the gate, align to the gate. Align 7RM. So again, I'm going to keep my eyes on Horde Intel because we're jumping into a new system, and I don't have anyone on the other side telling me if it's safe or not. So I'm going to say gate is red, gate is red. This means you will not go through, you will stay on this side and just hold when you land on the gate. Gate is red. Okay, everybody jump, 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 jump through, jump through. There is a crow here, so we just have to be careful of that. Okay, I'm broadcasting you align to. Everybody align to that. Align, align, align. So I'm going to wait for everybody to align so we all enter warp at the same time, hopefully.
Warp drive active.
And perfect. One person was a little bit left behind. Hopefully you don't get caught. So now I'm going to warp us to one of our engineering complexes in system. There are many engineering complexes in system. A lot of them are used for industry. We do have some stations set up around the system that are also used for mining related stuff, such as reprocessing and compression of your ores. So we have different citadels set up in the system to help players who want to do kind of industrial based activities. So this one is EC medium and large ships, so the engineering complex for building medium and large ships that has special bonuses for industry members wanting to build stuff. So we have a lot of different things. In addition, you can tether at these, you can be safe here. Some of the citadels have clone bays installed as well. So that's just an example of somewhere that you can come and gather benefit from being part of our corporation. We provide these engineering complexes for industry members and certain services for the mining members as well. Okay, so I would like everybody to now align towards FTech N. Please align, align, align.